Hello, and welcome back to the All Out Soccer Podcast. Myself, Jeremy Goldstein, and my co-host, Joseph McBride. We're two football fans talking about soccer. Focus on a fusion of the MLS, the U.S. men's and women's soccer teams, and all the build-up to the 2026 World Cup. Joe, we got Champions League on right now. We got World Cup news left and right, maybe a little too much World Cup news, and a freaking MLS bombshell that dropped like an hour ago. Yes, Javier Mascherano related. How we doing?
Yeah, I'll be doing better if Liverpool could somehow grab a goal against PSG. But yeah, I'm good. It was quite funny. We were obviously talking about topics and, MLS is always great, but it wasn't the most thrilling weekend. And, ever since the games have concluded, it's all kicked off.
Yes, it has. Yes, it has. While we're here, don't forget, please, to like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Whether that be YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, the whole shebang. We're going to get straight into this Javier Mascherano news. Just to say, was not fired, even though they did weekend against New York Red Bulls. And obviously they've drawn their first two games at home to start the season. Their first two games at their new home to start the year. Obviously, Inter Miami, the reigning MLS Cup champions, are already out of the CONCACAF Champions Cup with their two consecutive draws against Nashville in the round of 16, going out on away goals. But clash. Joe, he's resigning. He's not being fired. He's resigning. And I'll go through the statements in a second because that's all the information we have. We don't have anything under the hood. What's your immediate reaction?
Shock, really. I mean, what was it, 4 or 5 months ago they won the MLS Cup? Obviously, as you said, they crashed out the Champions Cup, which was their main objective this season, but they've only lost once in MLS, even though performances haven't been amazing. But just shock, really. I mean, especially just moving into the stadium and you've got, Messi and this whole kind of era here. And before it's even got going, he's gone. And yeah, I mean, he was only in the job, January 2025. It's a sudden departure.
November 2024. But yes, same applies. He was hired right after they went out to Atlanta in that shocking first round loss in 2024. I mean, winning the MLS Cup is hard. It's a playoff. They got through how many rounds? The round of 16 quarters. They survived a lot of nervy games. They had to do them all on the road. Obviously, they were League Cup runner-ups last year. That worked to Mascherano's advantage. Obviously, when Suarez gets the suspension, he has to move away from Suarez. Then all of a sudden they just go into 100th gear that last month of the season in September. Messi had literally 5 games in a row with the brace. You got those two advanced wingers who are just creating all this width, and Messi is operating like a number 9, false 9 for the first time in 12 years and just looked every part of the greatest player the world has ever seen. And then they brought in Bertarame this summer, a classic forward. Suarez is still playing. They're playing 4 or 5 attackers at a time. They lose Busquets. The defense is a mess. And they're out of the cup already. Is this Mascherano's fault? Is this the club is a little too overly ambitious? It's just not sticking with what worked and just trying to really, really dominate and put a stronghold? I don't know. Why is he resigning? I mean, look, I think there's got to be some Argentina job opening related links here. I mean, he's getting ahead of the summer rush to hire new coaches. I mean, if he wants to go to Spain, I'm sure, for a job, there's clubs like Athletic Bilbao that are going to have job openings. After the World Cup, I wouldn't be surprised if the Argentine national team job is open. I don't know. I mean, he did everything he could have at Miami, and his resume is obviously not taking a blow from this, but still absolutely shocked.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be surprised if he'd leave now for a job in the summer. Obviously, we'll get into the statement they've released, but the whole thing does seem a bit odd. And I've been looking at all the reaction online. We've had all sorts of people responding to it. And, it very much seems like there's a manhunt to see the root of this, reason and this decision. But it's all very up in the air at the moment. So great to debate about at least.
Yeah, I just want to say Andoni Iraola, the head coach of Bournemouth, announced he'll be leaving at the end of the season. It's April 14th. This now puts him in the mix for all of these vacant job openings that are sure to become available, whether that's Bilbao in Spain, a job he's heavily linked to, Atleti in Spain, that's a job that can open. In England, Chelsea job could open up. The Tottenham job could be open. The United job is going to be open. There's all sorts of major jobs that are set to be open. I mean, the Madrid job, is open. Not that Mascherano would be taking that one. I just think it's a new trend now of managers you're seeing putting their hat in the ring a little earlier, just to get in the rush of these big jobs.
Yeah, I personally don't think it's for that. I don't think he would have just left Miami suddenly to pursue another job that way. But it does seem odd. Just the suddenness of it. I mean, no one saw this coming.
That's why I think this was so sudden. But we're going to see in the coming weeks. Here's a statement from both sides. I'm not going to read the full statements for both Javier Mascherano and Miami majority owner Jorge Mas. I just want to read the tail end of the statements. Mascherano said, "I want to let everyone know that for personal reasons, I've decided to end my tenure as head coach of Inter Miami," and gave a lot of jargon about thankful for the fans, blah, blah, blah. Jorge Mas said, "We respect his decision and are deeply grateful for everything he contributed, wishing him nothing but the very best in his professional and personal future." Now, if he got fired, they agreed it to be like, "We are not going to make you look like it's your fault, like we're firing you." There have already been 2 sackings in the MLS this year, Orlando and Montreal. Those were firings. This, they're making a resignation. Look, maybe I'm drinking the Kool-Aid by saying this is Mascherano getting ahead of the curve and saying this is exactly what those statements want. That's how they want me to react, when really it's like, oh, maybe he's just a terrible manager behind the scenes.
Yeah, I think the one that stumped me, obviously, when seeing the personal reasons, I was straight away like, we've got to be careful with this because it could be anything. You never know what's going on. But at the same time, it then said that all of his coaching staff that he brought in will be leaving with him, which, if it's his decision he doesn't want to continue, it'd seem weird for the whole coaching staff to be gutted. I'm sure it's going to come out, but whether it's he wants to resign or he's kind of been told to leave or a mutual agreement, something's not quite adding up.
There's nothing left for him to do in America. I mean, the CONCACAF Champions Cup was the new challenge. He won the MLS Cup. He's already proven he can win the trophy he was brought in to bring, and he did it in his first year. He has nothing to prove by winning in his second year. He had something to prove by winning the CONCACAF Champions Cup against Mexican competition. He did have that. He already did well in the Leagues Cup last year. They only lost in the final to Seattle. I don't really think that's going to be held against him. He had something to prove against those Liga MX sides on the road in the CONCACAF Cup, and those are done. There's literally no reason for him to continue coaching for his own professional development. I mean, it's not a great look to leave the team in the middle of April, but the more I think about it, the more I'm like, I totally understand why he would leave now. So it would only hurt his reputation by staying there, if anything, because they're off to such a shaky start overall.
Yeah, they are, but they've not been good recently. We said recently that they're a team that gets better as the season progresses. That's usually the case. That's quite often the case with a lot of champions around the world right now. But it just feels odd. Like I said, the sudden departure. Would Miami remove him without having a replacement? I think it's Guilherme Hoyas who's coming in as an interim coach for a few games. They said upcoming games. They haven't said how many. I'm kind of speechless with it because when you messaged me 2 hours before we start recording, I was out on a run. I had no idea. Yeah,
Hoyas is he's going to be the first team head coach. He led the team in practices both on Monday and Tuesday in training, so this move then must have already happened. Miami's 3-1-3 through 7 matches in the MLS. That puts them third in the East. They have a +1 goal differential. They scored over 100 goals in all competitions last year. Bertarame finally got off the mark over the weekend. We're going to get into that game in just a second. They were really, really good last year. They were utterly dominant in the playoffs. And I think of that game against Cincinnati on the road where it's just like they completely tore them to shreds. That was the other best team in the Eastern Conference. I just think there's no reason Miami should have sacked him. I'm sorry. Even though the results have been poor. I mean, mostly I think it's just down to just a horrifying transition defense and the void of Busquets being gone. I don't think it's his fault. But we can talk more about the game, and that will maybe bring some clarity as to what some of those grievances Mas and the Miami staff may have had.
Yeah, well, last week they had their home opener against Austin and drew 2-2. It was a disappointing result. Messi did score, but he also missed a lot of chances and didn't really look like himself. The exact same scoreline happened this weekend, this time against Red Bull New York. The Red Bulls went 1-0 up early in the first half. New signing George Ruvalcaba basically had a goal gifted to him by some awful Miami defending. Julian Hall, who's looking better and better every single week, was double marked by Falcone and Mikael. For some reason, they decided to double team him, leaving Ruvalcaba completely free inside the box. Really nice cutback from Hall, played it to him, and I don't think even Ruvalcaba could realize how much time and space he had. Easy goal. Miami did equalize, and it was a beautiful goal to do so. It was Silvetti, who I still think looks amazing. Really, really good cross in right on the stroke of half time from Rodrigo de Paul, and really, really good technical finish. He managed to keep it low on the volley, smashing it past even Horvath. Miami then did take the lead, and it was a welcomed goal from Berterame, his first in MLS. Messi gave him a massive embrace when he scored. It was one of those, is this goal going to open the floodgates for more? It was a bit of a lucky goal. Messi was dribbling into the box. It bounced off him straight to Berterame, but it was an instinctive finish, just a snapshot first time. But that is not how it ended. Red Bulls did equalise with, again, some more very questionable defending. And it was Julian Hall twisting and turning after receiving a very quick free kick from Emil Forsberg. He then smashed it across the face of goal, and Red Bulls won the kid, Adri Mehmeti, who I think is going to be a seriously good player, equalised. And that's how the game ended. But wasn't good scenes after the game. Obviously, the second home game, another disappointment. Yes, they didn't lose, but Lionel Messi was seen walking straight off and down the tunnel, not wanting to speak to anyone, looked very, very frustrated. And of course, days after that result, Mascherano's gone.
Yeah, it's good that Messi cares. And again, he's a long-standing relationship with Javier Mascherano. I doubt, dating back to the Argentine youth team, 20 years ago, I doubt their relationship would become fractured over second season fatigue in the MLS. You know what I mean? Like, Messi's playing every week. It's not like he'd have any personal reason for gripe or anything. There was one other moment in the game I just wanted to bring up. It was the offside goal that was ruled out, the second goal for Red Bulls. Absolute mess in transition once again. And then St. Clair, the Miami goalie, fumbled the cross, and that went in for a goal. And that first goal, it was both Miami center backs were chasing Hall. I don't understand why Falcone meant to run over and support and the other Red Bulls player unmarked. I just don't get it. There is literally no plan in transition. It actually looks amateurish. It looks like the side is not coached, and that's something that's a major issue. And last year we could blame the personnel because there were some moving parts. I mean, this year they had a full offseason. Reguilón's in the team. They brought in obviously the defender from Brazil. You can't blame personnel anymore. I mean, it's just like, and they're still firing on all cylinders in the attacking end, but still. And that leads me to ask, we don't know who they're going to bring in. We don't know what level of coach they're going to bring in. But would you look, if you were Miami, Joe, for a safe pair of MLS hands? Would you look outside the box again, like Mascherano? Would you look for someone, maybe most importantly, who's a good friend of Lionel Messi? What direction would you take this coaching search?
I think it's pretty clear that Miami is trying to become bigger than MLS, and at the moment, I don't think they'd get someone in, it'd be like in England getting in a Sean Dyche or someone like that. I don't think that's the direction, but I wouldn't be surprised, and I think you've alluded to it there. I was thinking about it. He's been out of a job for a while. Obviously, Xavi, former Barcelona superstar with Lionel Messi. He's been out of a job, and it just fits. I think that kind of role fits. I mean, obviously, he's coached Barcelona and had success. He's also gone to a few other places. But if he's out of a job right now, kind of until the end of the season, I wouldn't be surprised.
He was so bad at Barcelona. I can't even begin to say how much better they've become under Hansi Flick with the same team. It was a joke that he was able to maintain that job for 2.5 years. I'm worried they're going to do something like that, which would be a mistake. I mean, they could go very high profile. What if Maurizio Pochettino's out of a job this summer? Would they look for someone like that? Someone like international and Premier League pedigree? These are expensive managers. If you consider, I don't know, BJ Callahan's probably making it in Nashville. This is anyone they bring in, it's going to demand a ton of money. Now, how many people have the chance to coach Lionel Messi? That's the selling point. I mean, most people should want to do it for free. I have no idea what direction you're going to take, but I do agree it's going to be in the Barcelona school of thought. I just hope it's anyone but Xavi. how fun would Pep Guardiola be in the MLS? That's all I'm going to say. I don't think that one's going to happen.
No. Obviously, it's still up in the air whether he's going to stay at City or leave at the end of his contract. As Liverpool fans, I mean, not that it's going well at the moment. I think we've been wanting him to leave for a long time. But I'd be very surprised if he went to Miami. I could see him doing a Spain national team role in a few years or something like that.
I mean, there's plenty of talented American coaches domestically. Wonder what they would do there. But yeah, then for the rest of Miami's season, Joe, I mean, again, the East, it's very tight at the top. I didn't think Nashville have been great recently, but they've been getting a lot of results. It looks like the best teams in the MLS are all in the Western Conference. But do you think this is really going to change how we analyze them going forward, their general status as a contender? Is this really that much of a difference?
I think they just need to ride the wave the next few weeks. There's obviously a bit of turmoil right now, and there's going to be a lot of moving parts. They have a good enough roster to compete, and I think they just need to, as I said, ride the wave, make sure things don't get out of hand. They weren't playing amazingly anyway, and I mean, not to just single them out, but I don't understand how Falco's in the team. I mean, yes, there's going to be a coaching change, but it doesn't look like Falco is being coached anyway. Obviously, they've only really got the MLS Cup to focus on. I think they'll be all right. They're not going to drop drastically out of playoff contention, I don't think, and they're better towards the end of the season, but yeah, it's definitely going to be a weird one. We don't know what's happened behind the scenes, but just the fact they've moved to this stadium and they've got so much going for them, I'm sure some players are very shocked this morning, just as we are.
Yeah. My last little bit of MLS news, this one was not included in the agenda. De Laurentiis, the long-standing impresario of Napoli, I don't know if you saw his comments saying that an American club should be in the Champions League. So whoever's joining the MLS, whoever's joining Inter Miami, hey, maybe you'll get a coach in the Champions League. Inter Miami away at Shakhtar Donetsk on a Tuesday night, and then Miami have to fly back to face Portland 3 days later. What do you think?
No, it's a European competition. I'm sorry, you've got your own CONCACAF Champions Cup, and all of these continents have got their own version of it. It just wouldn't make sense logistically at all. I don't mind them being invited to pre-season tournaments and stuff like that, but logistically, it's a European competition. It wouldn't make any sense.
I am in complete agreement. All right, Joe, let's take a quick break. Hey, if you want to get involved in the conversation, shoot us an email at either jeremy.goldstein@reachplc.com or joseph.mcbride@reachplc.com. Please engage by subscribing to the show wherever you get your podcasts, and leave us a like while you're at it. That's the end of part 1 of this week's show, but stick around for part 2 just after the break. All right. We promise no more Miami for the rest of the episode, unless someone literally dies in the next few minutes. Fingers crossed, everything. We're going to focus on the U.S. men's national team and some World Cup bits and bobs. Joe has some recaps about some key players abroad. I'm going to talk about the Christian Pulisic relationship because I am a little messy. And then we're going to get into some World Cup stories, mostly negative, if we're being totally honest. Some related to tickets, some related to ice, and some related to injuries. All right, Joe. So the season's coming to a close in Europe. What do you have for us in terms of players we should be following and up to speed with?
Yeah, well, positives for now. Brendan Aronson assisted Noah Okafor for Leeds United in a historic win. Over Manchester United. Leeds haven't won at Old Trafford in the league since 1981, and they won 2-1 on Monday night, which really boosts their chances of Premier League survival, which is the main thing. But yeah, he's playing really well. I think he hasn't quite hit the heights that he did in January, etc., but he's still looking really good and definitely a contender. One of my favourite bits of news from the whole weekend was Tyler Adams returning to the Bournemouth team. Came off the bench against Arsenal, and Bournemouth beat Arsenal 2-1 at the Emirates, throwing Premier League title race. Folarin Balogun scored for the 7th straight game for Monaco. He's in such good form for them. They did lose 4-1 to Paris FC, so not a good result, but good for him. And Ricardo Pepi was back amongst the goals, scoring in a 2-0 win. PSV have already wrapped up the title by some distance with so many games to go. And just finally, Chris Richards and Crystal Palace, they are involved in a 2-1 comeback win over Newcastle, and they have a 3-0 lead over Fiorentina in the quarterfinal of the Conference League. Fiorentina, other than Palace, are probably one of the best teams left, so real chance for European silverware for him.
The only thing I'm worried about Richards is he's playing twice a week with 2 days off in between, because it's usually the Thursday, Sunday, literally every week, and they sold Mark Gahey in January, so they're already a little stretched at the back. I mean, he's really turning into like a captain of a solid mid-table Premier League side. It's really, really cool to see. I'm just, hope his legs are okay for the summer.
It's a bit of a, double-edged sword, because you want your players to be the best and playing for elite teams. And in order to do that, they have to play more games. So it's just kind of like, you've got to accept it, but watch, through closed eyes, hoping he doesn't get hurt. And he's got a bit of a reputation for that.
I mean, look, you look at something like Hugo Ekitike playing this many competitions this late in the season, and look what happened today. For those who don't know, Hugo Ekitike came off in a stretcher in the first half against PSG. Probably going to miss the World Cup, but, too soon to tell. We're going to see what happens. I just can't believe I'm talking about this. Looking at our other key attacking player in the U.S. men's national team picture would be one fella named Christian Pulisic, who is single, apparently. He broke up with his golf influencer girlfriend, Alexa Melton, at some point because she was in some IG comments, getting a little, telling us how things are going. She said in one comment, "Mans was on Raya before it even ended." Raya is a celebrity dating app. For those who don't know, you have to be invited to join and pay an exorbitant amount of money to stay on. And two, she said how many likes to post his Raya profile. His Raya profile then leaked from 2023. He was in Nashville, I think, for a U.S. camp. He was 25 at the time. So it was people oh, he was I got him. I was no, he was 28 now. He was 25 then, or however old. So that was not true. But the leak of him recently, whatever. Then she walked back her comments. She said, "I made some comments on a private matter, and it's been taken out of context. I received false info. He is not a cheater. Any narrative beyond that is not mine," she said in her story. "Out of respect for Christians and my privacy, I will not speak on the matter further. Come on, our captain is not a cheater. However, he has not scored a league goal since December 28th. Milan lost 3-0 over the weekend to Udinese. Got subbed off in the 73rd minute. Not looking good for Christian in any right, but he's not a cheater, and that's at least the bare minimum." Sorry for that, Red.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying. He wasn't on the Arsenal goalkeeper as well. But yeah, I kept seeing this. I couldn't escape this online. I saw it and I was like, why is this getting sent to me? This is obviously fake and just whatever slander at the moment. And then, popped up on the agenda and I was like, oh, it must be real then. Yeah, interesting one. And also bringing it back to football, I saw that Pulisic posted a little highlight reel of his footwork and dribbling against Udinese, despite them losing 3-0, which obviously, as you can imagine, didn't go down too well. It was a little bit tone deaf. But yeah, seems like he's got a lot of stuff to overcome before the World Cup.
Look, I don't want him to leave Milan because it's just a good place. Now they're going to make top four. I mean, just because the league is not the greatest this year. I don't know if you saw that Como Inter game over the weekend. That was wild. But it's not great this year. They're going to make top four. They're in the Champions League. Do we want him to stay? He's a starter at a Champions League club. That's pretty good. Do we want him to get more ambitious? Can he go back to England? I don't know. We're going to have plenty of time to discuss Christian Pulisic's future. It's definitely not going to be before the World Cup on home soil. All right, looking to the World Cup, Joe. I want to end on some of the other bits. So I want you to talk to me about some key injuries that have been happening in the CONCACAF realm.
Yeah, well, obviously you just said about Ekitike being injured, but Canada is worried, I think, ahead of this World Cup. Marcelo Flores, who's just switched allegiance from Mexico, has been diagnosed with a myofascial tear in his left leg, threatening his availability for the World Cup, which would be a massive, massive shame. Alphonso Davies has also suffered a hamstring injury, although it's not as bad as they first feared. I feel like he can't play more than 2 games without getting injured, but that's really worrying. Defenders Alistair Johnson and Moise Bombito have both been handed setbacks, not knowing if they're going to make it either. And Stefan Eustáquio, who I said would be a player to watch for LAFC, hasn't been playing. He has a hematoma after a dead leg injury. His status to return is unknown. But also moving around, we've got Christian Romero for Argentina, which could be massive. He's already been ruled out for the rest of the Premier League season with Tottenham. Really, really strange incident in the Premier League. Brian Brobby, basically Tottenham lost 1-0 to Sunderland. It was an interesting game, kind of felt like a playoff final. Robbie shoved Romero into the goalkeeper Kinski. Romero's leg buckled, looked really nasty. His knee just popped the wrong way and he was in tears as he came off the pitch. I don't think he was crying about Tottenham's future in the league. I think it was more the World Cup. But yeah, Argentinian media are reporting that he should be okay for the World Cup, but it's yet to be determined. And I feel like he's such a leader at the back for them. And I think Argentina had a good chance at this World Cup. Without him, I think their chances are going to be much lower.
Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame. Such a big part of the 2022 team, obviously. In Canada, their back line. I mean, that's like 5 of the key defensive players. I don't know, it's a good team on paper. It really, really is. And I just hope they get to show some of that talent at the World Cup. I mean, Alphonso Davies, freaking flip a coin if he's ever going to be healthy. I will say Kyle Larin, and that's Kyle with the C, scoring a lot of goals for Southampton, scored again today. They might get promoted without having to go to the playoff. All right, I'm going to conclude with some bad news because, that's what we like to do in these parts. All right, so all right, we're going to start with some ticket news. So last month it came out that me and Joe discussed on this very show that it would be $75 to get from Boston to Foxborough on the MBTA, which is Manhattan Transit, Massachusetts Transit, excuse me, to get to game. And then Brazil are playing in Foxborough. I think England have a game there. France have a game there. Norway have a game there. Sucks to suck. Or you can take a bus for $90. But I was like, oh, this is whatever. That's because it's such a long distance. I didn't even think about this impacting any part of the tournament. However, New Jersey Transit is poised to raise prices. It's normally a $13 ride from Penn Station in Manhattan to East Rutherford, New Jersey for World Cup games. And $13, mind you, was the price last year during the Club World Cup to over $100. Now, it's unconfirmed if that's a round trip ticket or if that's one way, because if that's one way, holy moly. They're going to finalize the prices in the next coming days, New Jersey Transit has alerted. So that's why they haven't commented publicly anywhere on this matter. This was obtained exclusively from The Athletic. This all comes to the fact of American politicians saying that American riders should not be punished for the spike in visitors, and they shouldn't, this is going to cost New Jersey Transit these special World Cup trains from Penn Station to MetLife Stadium, Jersey, like $80 million total. And they're saying, oh, this shouldn't come out of Jersey taxpayers. This should come out of we should just make this money back directly from the fans. I mean, that's the problem with having your stadium in New Jersey. And look, I love New York. I really, really do. The fact that there isn't this freaking major NFL complex in Queens is beside me, that you can get to with easy access public transportation. I hate New Jersey Transit. I really do. I'm from New York. It's stupid and expensive. Why is it $13 even to begin with? I'm sorry. It should not cost that much to operate, though it is very clean. $100 is just gouging. I understand you don't want the American taxpayer to pay. I understand it's not their fault that the random New Jerseyan who doesn't care about the World Cup, it's not their fault that it's impacted. But just it's not like it's a bajillion people coming. It's people coming, 60,000 people for a game. This happens every week. It's fine. It's manageable. I'm sorry. I just don't understand why it needs to be this much money.
I don't think anyone does. I mean, we've already ranted about Boston. It is disgusting. It is nothing but greed. And, I'm happy to be here in the States. I enjoy my time, but I am so sick to death with the whole dynamic pricing kind of epidemic. I just can't. Growing up, my culture being purely, tickets are all face value. Everything's the same. It is what it is. To then, we're going to have inflation or, a surge in terms of passengers and people coming through. I just don't understand how it's legal and how you can justify going from, I think it was $12.90 specifically to $100 ticket. I mean, little tip for people out there, if you're going to do this, pay $4 to go to Secaucus Junction and get an Uber. It's still going to be cheaper. But it's just, I just don't understand. And I've even seen that they've banned parking at the stadium. Tailgates aren't allowed anymore. On one hand, it's just the World Cup. And I get that it's, it's going to be operational costs and stuff. But this should have all been ironed out before the bid was accepted. And FIFA has a right, in my opinion, to be like, you cannot do this. This is part of your budget. This is part of your bid. If you don't want to deal with all of these consequences, then don't do it. I just think it's going to be really damaging. The whole point of US soccer, and we haven't even spoke about Matt Crocker leaving as sporting director, by the way, but the whole thing is they want to, spark a generation, make soccer interest at all-time high, show the world that the US wants to deliver this product and stage this great tournament. Yet it's so negative that I feel like they're just ruining their future with it, because people are just left with so much negativity, and it's just going to leave such a bad taste in people's mouths. You want them to enjoy it, and at the moment people are being priced out of even getting to the game, let alone even being able to enjoy it. And then the tailgate thing, that's culture. Like, embrace that. I just really don't understand who's making all these decisions. I get it's all for greed, it's all for money, it's how can we, get as much out of this as possible. And the thing is, people are going to pay it, so they know that. But it's just, I just can't get on board with it. I think it's disgusting.
Why would they let you tailgate when they could make you buy an $18 hamburger?
That's fine, but like at some point, an experience and everything else has got to be the priority over just the greed lying in their pockets. The people that are going to be going and paying to enjoy this product, it's not for them, it's for everyone else. And yeah, it's sad to say that, like, I didn't even apply for tickets. Thankfully, through work, hopefully we can go to some events and some games, and that's an absolute privilege, and I'm really, really grateful for that. But I didn't apply for tickets knowing that it was going to be like this. And every other time that I haven't applied for tickets for an event, I feel FOMO, and I feel like, it's a shame I'm not going. In this instance, I'm so glad that I didn't.
It's sad, because everything I've heard about the 94 World Cup has just made it seem like, I didn't really like the game, but like my dad took me for $11 to the Rose Bowl, and I saw, Stoichkov play for Bulgaria or some random thing. And now it's just like, you want to pay $300 bajillion to watch the worst team you've ever seen of all? No offense to anyone else. One of the worst international teams in this diluted field play and just have the horrific travel experience. Yeah, go ahead. Anyway, we could have this conversation, Joe, for a very, very long time. We're going to end the podcast here. Just going to be more World Cup horror stories coming out week in, week out, which is a shame, because we should be talking about the product on the pitch, but it's turned into a horse and pony show, not helped by the fact that the president of FIFA is very good friends with the president of the United States. That should not be a relationship that exists at all. And I don't think that's a political statement to say that. And that's without getting into the politics of either of those people. I just don't think they should be friends. Anyway, yeah, Joe, that's it. Did anyone die in the last hour? Hopefully not.
They're not friends, by the way, because if they're friends, they'd negotiate and, you help me out, I help you out. He's just doing whatever he wants. Anyway.
That's kind of what everyone does. Anyway, that just about wraps it up for this week's All Out Soccer. He's been Joe McBride. I've been Jeremy Goldstein. We hope you can join us again on the next episode. Or, as Thomas Muller would say, Auf Wiedersehen. See ya.